She disappeared after his mistake and rebuilt her life from nothing. Years later he saw her again, with two girls who carried his eyes, and realized the past had never truly gone away. Alexander Reed had built his reputation on certainty. As the chief executive officer of a powerful construction corporation, he was known for decisiveness that left little room for hesitation. Dark hair neatly kept, blue eyes steady and calculating, he carried himself with the composure of someone accustomed to authority. Contracts, expansion projects, and negotiations filled his days, and his evenings were rarely free from strategic planning. Success surrounded him in visible forms: recognition, wealth, influence, yet these achievements had become routine rather than fulfilling, part of a life structured around control. He met Hannah Lawson during a corporate event that he had attended out of professional obligation rather than personal interest. Her presence contrasted sharply with the calculated ambition that defined most interactions in his world. With brown hair falling naturally around her shoulders and calm brown eyes that reflected sincerity rather than competition, she spoke with authenticity he found disarming. Their conversations developed gradually, extending beyond formal settings into shared evenings marked by curiosity and warmth. Unlike the carefully negotiated relationships he was accustomed to, their connection unfolded without calculation, allowing him to experience companionship unfiltered by expectation. With Hannah, Alexander permitted himself a degree of openness he rarely displayed. He spoke about his ambitions with candor, yet he also listened, valuing her perspective in ways that surprised him. Their time together offered respite from the demands of leadership, introducing balance to a life defined by constant forward motion. Though he never relinquished his disciplined nature, he found comfort in her presence, appreciating the steadiness she brought. For a period, he convinced himself that this balance could coexist with his priorities, that affection and ambition could occupy the same space without conflict. However, his professional environment fostered habits difficult to abandon. Long hours, travel, and relentless expectation gradually influenced his decisions, shaping perspectives that prioritized achievement above personal commitment. The attention he received within executive circles, combined with opportunities that accompanied his status, created distractions he underestimated. What began as indulgence born from arrogance and complacency led to a moment of betrayal he neither anticipated nor adequately considered. His infidelity was not premeditated cruelty but the product of thoughtlessness, a failure to recognize the weight of trust he had been given. The revelation of his actions brought confrontation not defined by chaos but by silence. Hannah did not express anger theatrically; instead, her response reflected disappointment too deep for dramatics. Her composure unsettled Alexander more than accusation might have, forcing him to face consequences without deflection. When she chose to leave rather than negotiate reconciliation, he experienced the loss not as immediate devastation but as gradual realization. Her absence altered the atmosphere of his life, removing warmth he had come to rely upon yet never fully acknowledged. In the days following her departure, Alexander attempted to resume routine with disciplined focus. He immersed himself in projects, meetings, and expansion plans, persuading himself that time would diminish significance. While he maintained outward composure, subtle reminders of her presence persisted: familiar habits, shared locations, and memories intruding unexpectedly. He rationalized his behavior as error rather than transformation, believing opportunity for correction might present itself later. What he did not grasp was that some departures do not pause for reconsideration, they redefine paths irrevocably. Unbeknownst to him, Hannah's choice to leave extended beyond emotional response, setting into motion events he could neither anticipate nor influence. While he continued forward, confident in his autonomy, the impact of his actions reached further than immediate loss. His life retained its structure and achievement, yet the consequences of his betrayal began shaping a narrative beyond his awareness. The chapter he considered closed had, in reality, only begun, preparing circumstances that would one day confront him with truths impossible to ignore. Hannah did not allow herself time to reconsider once she left Alexander's apartment behind. The decision had formed with quiet certainty rather than impulsive emotion, and she carried it forward with determination that surprised even herself. The city felt different that night, colder and less familiar, as though distance had already begun to settle between her and the life she once inhabited. She packed only what she needed, avoiding sentimentality, aware that hesitation would weaken her resolve. Leaving was not an act of escape alone, it was an effort to reclaim stability after trust had been broken beyond repair. Traveling to another city offered anonymity and space for reflection, yet it also presented immediate practical challenges. She searched for work with patience, accepting modest opportunities while adjusting to unfamiliar surroundings. Each day required adaptation, from navigating public transportation to establishing routines in a place where no one knew her history. Though loneliness occasionally surfaced, she refused to let it define her. Instead, she approached uncertainty with resilience, guided by belief that independence, even when difficult, provided dignity she valued deeply. Weeks passed before physical fatigue and subtle changes in her body prompted concern. At first she attributed them to stress and exhaustion, convincing herself they were temporary consequences of upheaval. However, as symptoms persisted, she sought confirmation, approaching the moment with quiet apprehension. Standing alone with the result before her, she experienced a stillness that carried more weight than panic. The realization that she was pregnant introduced complexity she had not anticipated, forcing her to reevaluate assumptions about the path ahead. Her initial response was contemplation rather than reaction. She considered informing Alexander, weighing the implications carefully. Memories of betrayal and the circumstances surrounding their separation influenced her thinking, as did her understanding of his priorities and temperament. She concluded that returning would expose her to vulnerability she was unwilling to revisit, particularly when responsibility now extended beyond herself. Her choice emerged from conviction that stability and autonomy mattered more than potential support accompanied by emotional uncertainty. Medical appointments confirmed her condition and provided reassurance regarding her health, yet they also intensified awareness of responsibility. Each visit reinforced the reality of life developing within her, transforming abstract knowledge into tangible connection. Hearing the steady heartbeat during examination stirred emotions she struggled to articulate, blending apprehension with protective instinct. She began to plan accordingly, adjusting finances, seeking reliable employment, and preparing living arrangements suited to her changing circumstances. Her work remained physically demanding, and maintaining it throughout pregnancy required perseverance. She balanced fatigue with necessity, motivated by the future she envisioned for her child. Colleagues offered occasional assistance, and though she shared little of her personal story, she accepted support with gratitude. These interactions reminded her that strength did not preclude cooperation, and she learned to integrate assistance without compromising independence. Nights often brought reflection, when quiet surroundings allowed thoughts to surface freely. She considered what motherhood would demand, imagining challenges alongside moments of fulfillment. Fear existed, particularly regarding raising a child alone, yet hope gradually overshadowed doubt. She recognized that while her life had diverged sharply from expectations, it had not diminished in meaning. Instead, it presented opportunity to redefine purpose according to values she upheld. As her pregnancy advanced, Hannah developed routines that centered preparation and self-care. She read extensively, sought guidance when necessary, and cultivated emotional resilience through mindfulness. Rather than viewing circumstances as consequence of loss, she reframed them as beginnings shaped by choice. The absence of Alexander's presence remained acknowledged but no longer dominated her outlook. Her focus rested on nurturing the future entrusted to her, confident that determination and patience would sustain her through uncertainty. By the time the birth approached, Hannah had transformed apprehension into readiness. Her journey through departure, adaptation, and discovery had revealed strength she might never have recognized otherwise. She stood prepared not only to welcome new life but to guide it with compassion and resolve. Though the path had been neither easy nor predictable, it led toward purpose grounded in love, responsibility, and unwavering commitment to the child whose arrival would soon redefine everything she understood about herself and her world. The final months of Hannah's pregnancy passed with an intensity that reshaped every aspect of her routine. Physical exhaustion grew heavier, yet her determination remained constant, guiding her through the practical demands of preparing for motherhood. She rearranged her small apartment with careful thought, transforming limited space into something functional and comforting. Each purchase, no matter how modest, carried significance, representing not only preparation but affirmation of the life she was ready to welcome. In quiet evenings, she allowed herself moments of anticipation, imagining laughter and growth where uncertainty had once existed. The day her daughters were born arrived with urgency that left no room for doubt or hesitation. The hospital environment, filled with controlled motion and measured instruction, surrounded her with a sense of both vulnerability and reassurance. Labor demanded resilience she had never before needed, testing her endurance while simultaneously grounding her in purpose. When the moment concluded and the cries of newborn life filled the room, the emotional impact overcame exhaustion. Holding the infants for the first time, she experienced a shift in perspective so profound it silenced every lingering uncertainty. They were identical, their dark hair and striking blue eyes revealing resemblance that stirred recognition she could not ignore. Yet rather than allowing memory to overshadow the present, she embraced what stood before her with clarity. She named them Emma and Claire, choosing names that reflected simplicity and strength, qualities she hoped would define their futures. In that moment, identity as an individual blended seamlessly with identity as a mother, anchoring her sense of self in devotion to their well-being. Returning home marked the beginning of a new chapter shaped by constant adaptation. Caring for twins demanded attention without pause, filling her days with feeding schedules, restless nights, and continuous learning. Fatigue accompanied responsibility, yet fulfillment accompanied it as well, expressed through the smallest gestures of connection. Observing her daughters respond to her presence, calming at the sound of her voice or reaching instinctively toward her, reinforced the bond she cherished deeply. The apartment that once echoed with solitude became vibrant with life, its atmosphere transformed entirely. Financial challenges persisted, requiring careful management and continued effort. Hannah maintained her employment, coordinating childcare with precision and relying on supportive arrangements when available. Though circumstances were demanding, she approached them with patience, understanding that stability developed gradually. Each milestone her daughters reached, first smiles, first attempts at speech, growing awareness, rewarded her perseverance, offering reassurance that her efforts were meaningful. As Emma and Claire grew, their personalities unfolded distinctly despite their identical appearance. Hannah encouraged curiosity, providing opportunities for exploration within her means and nurturing their confidence. She fostered an environment defined by kindness and respect, instilling values she considered essential for resilience. While she occasionally reflected upon their resemblance to Alexander, she avoided allowing association to dominate her perception. Instead, she celebrated individuality, emphasizing the uniqueness she observed daily. Moments of introspection emerged when observing her daughters sleeping peacefully, prompting contemplation of the journey that had led her there. She recognized how departure and uncertainty had evolved into fulfillment grounded in purpose. Motherhood had reshaped her priorities, revealing dimensions of strength and compassion previously untested. Though challenges remained inevitable, she no longer perceived them as burdens, but as aspects of responsibility she embraced willingly. Through dedication and perseverance, Hannah cultivated a life defined not by absence but by presence. Emma and Claire thrived within the environment she created, embodying hope that transcended circumstance. In guiding their early years, she discovered that fulfillment did not arise from perfection but from authenticity and care. Her journey forward continued with resolve, grounded in the certainty that love and commitment would sustain them through whatever future awaited. Years passed in a rhythm that blended exhaustion with quiet achievement, shaping Hannah's life into something steady despite its constant demands. Raising Emma and Claire required more than patience, it demanded endurance, planning, and emotional resilience that she strengthened over time. Her mornings began early, guided by routine rather than leisure, as she prepared meals, organized schedules, and ensured the girls felt secure before the day unfolded. Though her resources remained modest, she cultivated warmth within their home, creating stability through consistency and care rather than material comfort. Work continued to define much of her time, and she accepted employment that provided reliable income even when it offered little recognition. Cleaning office buildings late into evenings required physical stamina and quiet determination, yet she never regarded the work with shame. Instead, she viewed it as contribution toward her daughter's well-being, an expression of responsibility rather than sacrifice. She moved through corridors and rooms after business hours, restoring order where activity had passed, reflecting privately on how effort, even unnoticed, shaped progress. Emma and Claire grew quickly, their curiosity expanding alongside their understanding of the world around them. Their identical appearance often attracted attention, yet Hannah ensured they developed individuality, encouraging distinct interests and expressions. She spent time reading with them, guiding their questions patiently, and celebrating their small accomplishments with pride. Their laughter softened the fatigue of long days, reminding her that fulfillment often resided within ordinary moments shared together. Despite the stability she built, memories occasionally surfaced, particularly when observing traits inherited from their father. The intensity of their blue eyes or the tilt of a smile could prompt reflection, stirring emotions she managed thoughtfully. She did not allow regret or bitterness to influence her guidance, believing resentment would burden the children unnecessarily. Instead, she acknowledged the past privately, maintaining focus on nurturing their future without distortion. Community connections gradually formed, offering companionship that eased isolation. Other parents, colleagues, and neighbors contributed moments of support and conversation, reinforcing a sense of belonging. Hannah learned to accept encouragement without surrendering independence, integrating shared experiences into her life with grace. These relationships enriched her environment, demonstrating that strength could coexist with openness. As the girls approached 4 years old, their personalities flourished more vividly. Emma exhibited thoughtful observation, while Claire displayed bold curiosity, yet both shared affection and loyalty that strengthened their bond. Hannah watched them interact with admiration, recognizing how their presence had transformed her own perspective on resilience. Challenges she once feared now appeared manageable, contextualized within broader purpose. Throughout these years, she maintained distance from her former life, neither seeking nor avoiding information about Alexander. His absence remained a fact rather than fixation, integrated into narrative she no longer revisited frequently. Her identity had evolved beyond that chapter, centered instead on motherhood, independence, and growth cultivated through perseverance. She acknowledged how profoundly circumstances had shaped her, yet she viewed transformation as empowerment rather than loss. In quiet evenings after the girls slept, Hannah sometimes reflected on her journey, appreciating the equilibrium she had achieved despite difficulty. The modest apartment held echoes of effort and laughter alike, embodying a life built through commitment. She recognized that happiness did not always present itself as ease, but often as confidence born from overcoming hardship. Her path continued forward, guided by dedication to Emma and Claire, certain that love and determination would sustain whatever awaited beyond the horizon. While Hannah's life unfolded through resilience and routine, Alexander's world moved forward at an entirely different pace, shaped by ambition and relentless expectation. His company expanded steadily, securing contracts that strengthened its reputation and influence across multiple regions. Each new project carried financial reward and professional recognition, reinforcing the image he presented to investors and colleagues alike. Public perception portrayed him as decisive and composed, someone capable of managing complexity without visible strain. Yet beneath that surface, achievement brought satisfaction without genuine contentment, leaving subtle dissatisfaction he struggled to define. His days were filled with strategic planning and oversight, requiring attention to detail and confidence in judgment. Meetings stretched across hours, negotiations demanded composure, and travel exposed him to environments where relationships were transactional rather than meaningful. Alexander excelled within this structure, yet moments of stillness occasionally revealed absence he had never fully acknowledged. Returning to quiet apartments or hotel suites after professional triumphs reminded him that success, when unshared, possessed limited warmth. Relationships formed briefly within this environment, though none endured beyond convenience. Alexander maintained polite engagement, yet emotional distance prevented attachment from developing. He attributed this detachment to practicality, convincing himself that commitment conflicted with ambition. However, recurring memories of Hannah surfaced unexpectedly, challenging that assumption. Her departure had not provoked immediate regret, but over time recognition of her absence deepened, introducing contemplation he could not entirely dismiss. He attempted to locate her on several occasions, motivated by curiosity and an emerging sense of accountability. Initial inquiries yielded little information, and each unsuccessful attempt reinforced the reality that she had chosen separation deliberately. Rather than pursuing relentlessly, he allowed the matter to recede, telling himself that respect required acceptance of her decision. Yet the unanswered questions lingered, forming quiet undercurrent within his thoughts. Professional recognition continued to accumulate, bringing invitations to events and public acknowledgement of his leadership. Alexander participated with practiced confidence, delivering speeches and cultivating partnerships that extended influence further. Observers admired his composure, unaware of introspection shaping his perspective privately. He began to question how achievement aligned with personal fulfillment, recognizing disparity between external admiration and internal equilibrium. During quieter evenings, he reflected upon earlier choices, examining them with greater honesty than before. The betrayal that had ended his relationship with Hannah no longer seemed trivial, its impact revealed through time and distance. He acknowledged how arrogance and distraction had contributed, recognizing that remorse served little purpose beyond encouraging growth. This awareness prompted adjustments in behavior and attitude, though opportunities to demonstrate change remained abstract. Despite lingering contemplation, Alexander maintained focus on present responsibilities, channeling energy toward continued progress. His life retained momentum, defined by accomplishment and expectation, yet remained incomplete in ways he gradually accepted. The absence of resolution regarding Hannah persisted as unresolved chapter, one that neither hindered advancement nor disappeared entirely. Unbeknownst to him, circumstances were aligning toward encounter that would reshape his understanding once again. His path remained unaware of developments beyond his perception, yet connection established years earlier had not vanished, it merely awaited rediscovery. While Alexander navigated success and introspection, his future prepared to confront him with reality capable of redefining purpose, responsibility, and identity beyond any achievement he had known. The trip had been scheduled as nothing more than routine oversight, another inspection tied to expansion plans that required Alexander's presence in a city he had visited only briefly before. His expectations were practical, centered on evaluating progress and maintaining standards rather than exploring surroundings. The day unfolded with familiar efficiency, marked by site reviews and conversations with local managers, leaving little space for reflection. By evening, however, a final visit to an office building undergoing renovation extended his schedule beyond what he had anticipated. Entering the building after business hours revealed a different atmosphere than the controlled environments he usually occupied. Fluorescent lighting cast sharp reflections across polished surfaces, and the quiet hum of maintenance activity replaced daytime bustle. As he moved through corridors assessing details, he noticed someone working at the far end of a hallway. The figure knelt beside a bucket, methodically guiding a mop across the floor, movements deliberate and practiced. He might have passed without attention, yet something about her posture, a familiarity difficult to explain, prompted him to pause. Recognition came gradually, unfolding as memory aligned with observation. When she turned slightly, allowing light to illuminate her face, certainty replaced doubt. It was Hannah. Time had altered superficial details, yet the essence of her presence remained unmistakable. The realization unsettled him more deeply than he anticipated, interrupting composure cultivated through years of discipline. He approached slowly, unsure how to bridge distance defined by past choices and unspoken history. She looked up as he neared, and surprise flickered briefly across her expression before composure returned. Neither spoke immediately, allowing silence to acknowledge years of absence. Alexander observed subtle indicators of change, confidence shaped by independence, steadiness grounded in experience, and recognized that the woman before him had evolved beyond the person he once knew. Before conversation could begin, however, his attention shifted toward movement nearby. Two small figures stood beside her equipment, watching with curiosity. Identical in appearance, the girls shared dark hair and striking blue eyes that caught the light unmistakably. Their expressions conveyed cautious interest rather than fear, and their presence introduced dimension Alexander could not immediately process. Instinct registered familiarity before reason articulated possibility, and realization emerged with disorienting clarity. The resemblance was undeniable, and its implication confronted him with a truth he had never imagined. His voice, when he finally spoke, carried uncertainty rarely evident in professional contexts. He addressed Hannah quietly, seeking confirmation without accusation, aware that the moment demanded respect rather than confrontation. She remained composed, weighing response before acknowledging what could not be disguised. Her confirmation transformed suspicion into certainty, and the corridor seemed to narrow around him as understanding settled into place. Alexander regarded the girls again, absorbing details that reinforced connection he had unknowingly missed for years. Their shared features reflected heritage impossible to deny, and awareness of lost time introduced emotion more complex than shock alone. He recognized experiences absent from his knowledge, milestones, memories, growth, and accepted that no explanation could restore what had passed. Yet alongside regret emerged recognition of opportunity present within the moment. Hannah's demeanor remained steady, neither inviting nor rejecting engagement. She explained circumstances with measured clarity, describing decisions shaped by necessity and independence. Her narrative carried neither accusation nor apology, reflecting ownership of choices made to protect her daughter's stability. Alexander listened attentively, acknowledging both her strength and his own role within their shared history. He understood that response required patience, as rebuilding understanding demanded consistency rather than declaration. The encounter concluded without resolution, yet it established foundation for dialogue extending beyond surprise. Arrangements to continue conversation formed cautiously, guided by mutual recognition of significance. As Alexander departed the building, the night air carried unfamiliar weight, his thoughts reshaped by revelation altering perspective profoundly. Success and ambition remained constants within his life, yet awareness of fatherhood introduced purpose impossible to ignore. What began as routine inspection had become moment redefining identity, responsibility, and the direction of his future in ways he could neither predict nor dismiss. The revelation did not fade with distance or sleep, and in the days following the encounter Alexander found himself navigating unfamiliar terrain shaped by emotion rather than calculation. He arranged to meet Hannah again, choosing a setting quiet enough to allow conversation without distraction. Unlike their unexpected meeting in the corridor, this time he approached with deliberate preparation, aware that the discussion required patience and respect. When she arrived with Emma and Claire, he noticed how naturally the girls stayed close to her, their presence reinforcing the reality that had begun reshaping his understanding of himself. Their conversation unfolded cautiously, neither rushed nor confrontational. Alexander asked questions not to challenge but to understand, seeking clarity about the years he had not witnessed. Hannah responded with composed honesty, recounting the progression of her life, her work, and the challenges she had navigated while raising their daughters independently. She did not dramatize hardship, nor did she diminish the effort it had required. Instead, her tone reflected acceptance and strength, emphasizing that her decisions had been guided by necessity and commitment to stability. Alexander listened with attentiveness shaped by reflection rather than defensiveness. He recognized elements of her experience that contrasted sharply with his own path, and the comparison prompted introspection. He acknowledged the role his past actions had played in shaping circumstances neither could reverse, expressing regret without expectation of absolution. His sincerity carried weight precisely because it lacked theatricality, conveying understanding through humility rather than persuasion. The girls observed their exchange with curiosity, occasionally interrupting with questions or remarks that introduced warmth into the conversation. Their openness contrasted with the complexity surrounding them, and Alexander responded instinctively, engaging with patience that surprised even him. He answered their inquiries thoughtfully, allowing interactions to develop naturally rather than forcing familiarity. These small exchanges fostered an atmosphere of tentative connection, demonstrating possibility within uncertainty. As discussions continued, practical considerations emerged. Alexander proposed formal confirmation of paternity, not from doubt but from recognition that documentation would provide clarity beneficial for everyone involved. Hannah agreed, understanding the importance of transparency, and arrangements were made with mutual cooperation. The process itself remained procedural, yet beneath it lay acknowledgement of relationship transitioning from discovery toward structure. Awaiting results required patience, offering space for reflection rather than immediate resolution. During this period Alexander adjusted priorities subtly, allocating time for visits and conversation beyond professional obligations. He observed Emma and Claire within familiar environments, learning their personalities and interests gradually. Emma's thoughtful observation contrasted with Claire's expressive curiosity, and these distinctions fascinated him, reinforcing awareness of individuality shaped by Hannah's guidance. Hannah remained attentive throughout these interactions, evaluating sincerity through consistency rather than words alone. She maintained boundaries while permitting gradual familiarity, balancing caution with openness shaped by her daughter's well-being. Her trust developed not from obligation but from observation of Alexander's commitment to understanding rather than control. This equilibrium fostered respectful dynamic that allowed progress without pressure. When confirmation arrived affirming paternity, its impact resonated quietly yet profoundly. The information transformed implication into certainty, solidifying responsibility already acknowledged internally. Alexander did not respond with dramatic display, instead, he accepted the result with composed affirmation, recognizing it as beginning rather than conclusion. His focus shifted toward participation within his daughters' lives, guided by intention to contribute meaningfully rather than symbolically. From that point forward, connection began forming through shared experiences, tentative yet genuine. Visits expanded into activities reflecting mutual interest, and communication between adults grew more collaborative. Though the past remained unaltered, their present demonstrated capacity for evolution grounded in respect and understanding. What had originated as unexpected revelation gradually developed into relationship shaped by patience, signaling possibility for growth neither had previously anticipated. Life did not change overnight after the confirmation, and neither Alexander nor Hannah expected it to. Instead, progress unfolded gradually, shaped by deliberate effort and careful consideration for Emma and Claire. Alexander approached involvement not as a dramatic transformation but as a responsibility requiring consistency. He arranged his schedule to include regular visits, ensuring that his presence became predictable rather than occasional. This adjustment demanded compromise within his professional routine, yet he accepted it willingly, recognizing that reliability mattered more than convenience. Their earliest shared activities were modest, chosen to encourage familiarity rather than spectacle. Walks in local parks, quiet afternoons spent reading, and simple conversations allowed the girls to observe him within comfortable settings. Alexander paid close attention to their reactions, understanding that trust could not be demanded or accelerated. Emma often listened thoughtfully before responding, while Claire engaged with curiosity, asking questions about his work, his travels, and his childhood. These exchanges fostered genuine connection, offering insight into their personalities and establishing common ground. Hannah observed these interactions attentively, balancing caution with appreciation. She noted Alexander's willingness to adapt his communication and behavior, demonstrating patience rather than attempting to impress. His interest appeared authentic, expressed through attentiveness and thoughtful engagement rather than grand gestures. This sincerity gradually eased tension she had carried, encouraging her to acknowledge change without abandoning prudence. Their conversations expanded beyond logistics, incorporating reflections on upbringing, values, and hopes for their daughter's development. Practical contributions emerged alongside emotional involvement. Alexander ensured educational opportunities, healthcare access, and living conditions that supported stability, though he remained careful not to frame assistance as compensation. He understood that partnership required collaboration rather than dominance, and he consulted Hannah before implementing decisions affecting their children. This respect reinforced mutual confidence, allowing their cooperation to evolve constructively. As weeks passed, Emma and Claire grew increasingly comfortable in his presence. They began anticipating his visits, sharing stories from school and inviting participation in their activities. Alexander discovered fulfillment within these moments, appreciating spontaneity and honesty that characterized childhood interaction. He encouraged their interests, offering guidance without imposing expectation, and their responses reflected growing affection. Observing their progress allowed him to experience connection previously unfamiliar, deepening commitment to his role within their lives. Despite positive development, unresolved history between him and Hannah remained acknowledged. They addressed it indirectly at first, recognizing that reconciliation required time and trust beyond parental cooperation. Occasional conversations revisited past events, not to assign blame but to understand perspective. Alexander accepted responsibility for his actions openly, and Hannah shared the emotional impact without hostility. This exchange fostered healing, transforming distance into dialogue grounded in maturity. During one particular afternoon, the girls invited him to assist with schoolwork, and as he guided them through exercises, he felt awareness of belonging unlike anything professional success had provided. Their trust carried significance beyond obligation, affirming connection shaped by shared experience. Later that evening, reflecting privately, he recognized how profoundly his priorities had shifted. Achievement remained meaningful, yet participation within family life introduced fulfillment he had not previously considered. Through patience and authenticity, relationships strengthened organically. Alexander's involvement became integrated within routine, Hannah's confidence in cooperation increased, and Emma and Claire embraced the expanded dynamic naturally. What had begun as cautious exploration evolved into stability grounded in respect, affection, and shared commitment. The process required effort and humility from all involved, yet it demonstrated that understanding nurtured through sincerity could transform uncertainty into lasting connection. The months that followed brought a deeper sense of familiarity, yet they also revealed that progress did not eliminate every challenge. As Alexander became more present in Emma and Claire's lives, his responsibilities extended beyond visits and shared activities into genuine participation in their development. He attended school meetings, supported extracurricular interests, and remained available when they encountered difficulties. His involvement grew naturally, shaped by commitment rather than obligation, and the girls responded with increasing ease, welcoming his presence as part of their routine rather than novelty. Emma's thoughtful nature often led her to seek guidance through quiet questions, reflecting on ideas and experiences with maturity unusual for her age. Claire, by contrast, expressed herself energetically, approaching life with curiosity that encouraged exploration. Alexander appreciated both dispositions, adapting his responses accordingly, offering encouragement that respected individuality while strengthening their bond. Observing their growth filled him with a sense of fulfillment distinct from professional accomplishment, reinforcing appreciation for moments defined by connection rather than outcome. Hannah witnessed these developments with mixed reflection, balancing gratitude for his dedication with awareness of the complexity inherent in rebuilding trust. While she recognized his consistency, she also understood that emotional healing extended beyond observable behavior. Their interactions evolved toward openness, allowing conversations about aspirations and concerns unrelated to parenting. They spoke of their respective journeys, acknowledging transformation shaped by experience and maturity. This dialogue strengthened mutual understanding, providing foundation for companionship not limited to shared responsibility. Yet amid this stability, an unexpected challenge arose when Emma began experiencing recurring health issues that required medical attention. Initially dismissed as minor, the symptoms persisted, prompting further evaluation. The prospect of uncertainty unsettled both parents, reminding them how fragile equilibrium could be. Alexander responded immediately, arranging consultations and ensuring access to specialists, while Hannah focused on reassurance and emotional stability for both daughters. Their collaboration during this period demonstrated unity grounded in care, transcending residual tension. The hospital environment introduced strain, yet it also reinforced their shared dedication. Wading through examinations and discussions with physicians required patience, and they supported one another without hesitation. Emma remained calm, comforted by their presence, while Claire exhibited concern that demanded additional reassurance. Alexander found himself deeply affected by vulnerability within the situation, recognizing emotional investment that extended beyond responsibility into genuine affection. Hannah observed his attentiveness, acknowledging sincerity reflected in both action and expression. Fortunately, treatment proved effective, and Emma's recovery restored balance. Relief manifested quietly, expressed through gratitude rather than celebration. The experience, however, left lasting impact on their perspective. It revealed strength within their partnership and affirmed importance of cooperation grounded in empathy. Hannah recognized Alexander's commitment not merely as support but as integration into their lives, while he acknowledged the resilience she had cultivated long before his involvement resumed. Following this episode, their connection continued evolving with renewed clarity. Shared experiences fostered trust, allowing affection and understanding to deepen. Emma and Claire thrived within this environment of stability, benefiting from the presence of two parents aligned in purpose. Alexander reflected often on how unexpected developments had reshaped his identity, recognizing that responsibility embraced fully could enrich existence beyond ambition alone. In this stage of their journey, uncertainty yielded to confidence built through perseverance. Relationships once defined by separation matured into unity grounded in authenticity. Their lives continued forward enriched by experience, demonstrating that growth achieved through patience and empathy could transform complexity into harmony, ensuring that bonds formed through care would endure whatever lay ahead. The calm that followed Emma's recovery did not erase the emotional weight of what they had experienced, yet it strengthened their awareness of how closely their lives had become intertwined. Hannah and Alexander moved forward with renewed attentiveness, not only toward their daughters but toward each other. Conversations that once centered exclusively on practical matters gradually deepened, extending into reflections on aspirations, values, and the paths that had shaped them. Their interactions carried less guarded distance, replaced by familiarity built through shared responsibility and mutual respect. One evening, after spending time reviewing school projects with Emma and Claire, Alexander remained after the girls had gone to bed. The quiet atmosphere provided space for conversation unhurried by obligation. He spoke candidly about how profoundly the past year had altered his perspective, acknowledging that involvement in their lives had introduced fulfillment beyond professional achievement. His tone lacked dramatic emphasis, grounded instead in sincerity shaped by reflection. Hannah listened attentively, recognizing authenticity in his words and considering her own emotional journey toward acceptance. She responded thoughtfully, describing the independence she had cultivated and the resilience required to sustain stability alone. While she expressed appreciation for his commitment, she also articulated the caution that accompanied trust regained gradually. Her perspective reflected balance, neither dismissing possibility nor embracing it without contemplation. Alexander received her honesty with understanding, recognizing that growth demanded patience and accountability rather than expectation. In the weeks that followed, their companionship evolved naturally through shared experiences outside parental duties. Occasional dinners, community events, and collaborative planning for the girls' future allowed them to rediscover aspects of connection beyond past familiarity. They approached these interactions with awareness of history, yet they did not allow memory to dominate their present. Instead, they embraced progression defined by authenticity, allowing affection to develop without force. Alexander eventually expressed intention to explore deeper partnership, framing his desire not as restoration of what once existed but as creation of something shaped by their current understanding. He emphasized respect for her autonomy and willingness to proceed at a pace comfortable for both of them. Hannah considered his proposal with care, reflecting on transformation she had observed consistently over time. Her response conveyed openness grounded in confidence, acknowledging readiness to pursue connection defined by mutual trust rather than obligation. Their decision did not introduce dramatic change overnight, yet it established direction enriched by clarity. They integrated companionship into their routines thoughtfully, ensuring Emma and Claire remained central to their priorities. The girls responded with natural acceptance, perceiving the harmony between their parents as reassurance rather than novelty. This atmosphere strengthened familial unity, reinforcing the environment of security they had worked diligently to cultivate. Through continued cooperation and affection, Hannah and Alexander discovered that reconciliation did not require erasing the past but understanding it. They approached each day with appreciation for progress achieved through perseverance, recognizing how adversity had shaped maturity and empathy. Their evolving relationship demonstrated confidence and authenticity, illustrating that connection strengthened by honesty could flourish beyond earlier limitations. As they moved forward, the sense of possibility surrounding their future carried quiet optimism. The foundation they had established allowed them to envision stability and growth shared collectively. Their story, once defined by separation and uncertainty, now reflected transformation guided by patience, demonstrating how individuals willing to adapt and understand could create unity rooted in resilience and trust. Time continued to move forward with quiet consistency, allowing the bond between Hannah and Alexander to deepen without urgency or spectacle. Their relationship evolved through shared routine rather than dramatic declarations, grounded in cooperation, respect, and attentiveness toward Emma and Claire. They learned to navigate daily life together, balancing professional responsibilities, parenting commitments, and personal aspirations with an ease that reflected growing familiarity. What had begun cautiously matured into companionship characterized by understanding and stability. The girls thrived within this environment, their personalities developing alongside the sense of security surrounding them. Emma's reflective nature led her toward academic curiosity, while Claire's energetic enthusiasm inspired exploration of creative pursuits. Alexander supported both paths attentively, attending school events, encouraging discussion, and offering reassurance when challenges arose. His presence extended beyond participation, it reflected genuine investment in their growth, reinforcing the trust they placed in him. Hannah observed these interactions with appreciation, recognizing fulfillment in seeing their daughters benefit from unified guidance. Moments shared between Hannah and Alexander themselves became increasingly meaningful. Conversations during quiet evenings addressed topics ranging from ambitions to reflections on personal development, illustrating how both had transformed since their separation. They acknowledged mistakes without dwelling on them, focusing instead on lessons gained and opportunities created through perseverance. Their communication exhibited openness shaped by experience, allowing vulnerability without fear of misunderstanding. This transparency strengthened their connection, fostering affection built on authenticity rather than nostalgia. Eventually, the question of formal commitment emerged naturally. Rather than grand gesture, Alexander approached the topic with sincerity, expressing desire to solidify their partnership as acknowledgement of the life they had cultivated together. His proposal emphasized continuity rather than spectacle, reflecting respect for Hannah's perspective and independence. She received his words thoughtfully, considering not only history but the stability and mutual regard they had achieved. Her acceptance came from confidence rooted in observation and trust, marking progression shaped by careful understanding. Their union took form through an intimate ceremony attended by close friends and family who had supported their journey. The occasion embodied warmth rather than extravagance, celebrating unity achieved through resilience and dedication. Emma and Claire participated with enthusiasm, their presence symbolizing the connection that had guided transformation. Observing their parents together affirmed for them the harmony shaping their family, reinforcing belonging cultivated through years of shared experience. Life following this commitment continued with familiar rhythm, enriched by renewed sense of permanence. Hannah pursued her interests with encouragement from Alexander, while he balanced leadership within his company with devotion to family life. They approached challenges collaboratively, drawing strength from cooperation rather than isolation. Their home reflected atmosphere defined by respect, laughter, and empathy, embodying environment they had consciously created. Looking back, both recognized how profoundly their lives had changed through adversity and reconciliation. They understood that fulfillment emerged not from perfection but from willingness to adapt and forgive, to remain present even when circumstances proved difficult. Their journey illustrated transformation guided by sincerity and patience, affirming that connection shaped by effort could endure beyond uncertainty. As they moved forward together, confidence replaced doubt, and gratitude accompanied reflection. Their shared path demonstrated that mistakes, when acknowledged honestly, could lead toward growth rather than regret. Within the harmony of their family, they found assurance that love cultivated through understanding and perseverance possessed resilience capable of sustaining whatever future awaited. Years passed with a quiet sense of completion settling into the lives Hannah and Alexander had rebuilt together. What once began in separation and uncertainty had matured into stability shaped by patience, honesty, and shared purpose. Their home carried an atmosphere defined not by wealth or achievement, but by warmth and belonging. Mornings were filled with familiar routines, evenings with conversation and laughter, and every ordinary moment served as a reminder of how far they had come from the lives they once led independently. Emma and Claire continued to grow into confident, thoughtful young individuals, their childhood marked by encouragement and opportunity. Their identical features remained a source of amusement among friends and teachers, yet their personalities had long since distinguished them as unique in their own right. Hannah nurtured their creativity and empathy, while Alexander supported their ambitions with guidance grounded in experience. Watching them navigate friendships, education, and curiosity about the wider world brought fulfillment that neither parent had anticipated years earlier. Their daughter's happiness became the clearest measure of success either of them could claim. Hannah reflected often on the transformation she had undergone, remembering nights of uncertainty and determination that had shaped her resilience. She no longer saw those years solely as hardship but as foundation for strength that allowed her to embrace partnership without surrendering independence. Alexander's presence complemented rather than overshadowed her identity, and together they fostered a relationship defined by equality and mutual respect. Their companionship extended beyond affection, rooted in appreciation for the effort each had invested in growth. Alexander, too, acknowledged how profoundly his understanding of life had changed. The ambitions that once dominated his focus now existed alongside values he had previously overlooked. Professional achievements still held significance, yet they were balanced by devotion to family and commitment to meaningful presence. He had learned that influence and recognition could not replace connection, and he carried that awareness into every decision he made. Observing Hannah and their daughters thrive reinforced his gratitude for second chances granted through humility and perseverance. One evening, standing together outside their home as sunlight faded gently across the horizon, they watched Emma and Claire laughing in the yard, their voices echoing with joy. The scene embodied harmony achieved through effort, forgiveness, and shared dedication. Neither forgot the mistakes that had once separated them, yet those memories served not as burden but as reminder of how transformation had become possible. Their story did not erase past pain, it wove it into a narrative of resilience and unity that shaped their future. In embracing their journey fully, they understood that fulfillment resided not in avoiding mistakes but in confronting them with courage and compassion. The lives they shared illustrated that growth could emerge from adversity and that love grounded in understanding possessed endurance beyond circumstance. Their path forward continued with confidence and gratitude, sustained by the family they had chosen to build together. This story is entirely fictional and created by the channel's author. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. If you were given a second chance to change a past mistake, would you take it, or would you let life unfold exactly as it did? This story is not about wealth or betrayal alone, but about the consequences of human choices and the ability to change. I wanted to portray that even strong and successful individuals make mistakes that cannot be erased, yet can be understood and corrected through action. At its core, the narrative explores responsibility, forgiveness, and the strength of parental love. It is a story about how life's challenges shape character and how a second chance can become the beginning of a more honest and mature life.